This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Tristan Potas, the CEO of First Development Resources, the planned spin-out IPO from Power Metal Resources. Thank you very much for joining us again. Tristan, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, Mark. It's been a challenging few months, without question, from a market's perspective, but we're still here and we're still pushing forwards.
Indeed, because of course the planned IPO is still anticipated, but it's been a little bit quiet. Well, certainly speaking to you, but I'm sure it hasn't been quiet in terms of workload. Of course, some of the perhaps fruits of that work announced today with an update on the company's Selta project in the Northern Territories there in Australia, where I believe the objective was to assess the project's mineral exploration potential by compiling a lot of historical data, conducting a high-level geophysical survey and a GIS-based desktop study. So could you just perhaps talk us through what you've been working on behind the scenes?
Certainly, Mark. Obviously, that's a bit of a mouthful there, but you summed it up quite neatly. What we've always known about Selta is that we've got this huge parcel of land, the size of Greater London, in a really promising jurisdiction in the Northern Territory of Australia. We initially identified a number of uranium targets, a number of rare earth element targets, and the potential for lithium-bearing pegmatites. But we always knew that due to the scale of the area, the complexity of the geology, and actually the amount of historical data which is available if you're prepared to trawl through it, we knew that we wanted to do this work at some point to refine what we already knew. But obviously with what's been going on with the listing process, we made the decision to bring that work forward with a view to enhancing what we already believe is a really intriguing opportunity at Selta. And in doing so, as you correctly mentioned, Mark, we've identified multiple targets for a whole range of different metals. So beyond just beyond the uranium, the lithium, and the potential for rare earths. Also, we've also identified the potential for IOCG, ISCG, and gold also. So yeah, it's a real smorgasbord of opportunity, and one which we're really keen to get stuck into as soon as we can.
Well, it certainly sounds like there's a lot of different potential here. Maybe slightly difficult to choose which one to focus on, but I understand you've increased the rare earth element and, of course, the lithium exploration target areas, but the new findings as well, the establishment of target areas for the orogenic gold and base metals, with, as you say, the potential for IOCG there as well. So, how do you start to sort of look at this data and sort of digest it a bit and come up with the next steps? Because when you've got, as you say, smorgasbord of minerals in the area, where do you know how to focus the efforts?
Great question, Mark. As part of this review, the consultants that we were working with in Perth actually did a fairly high-level ranking and prioritising process, and that's included in today's announcement. Look, I think one of the benefits of having so many opportunities for what are a lot of key metals currently, it gives us that chance to be able to be a little bit flexible with how we go about our exploration, and we do have that opportunity to focus our attention where demand is at a certain point in time. That being said, we still want to take that methodical, systematic approach to exploration and work up all of these targets, because I strongly believe that all of them present an opportunity for First Development Resources. The territory is proving itself to be a fantastic place to do business. There's been some great success stories coming out of that general area, not least the nearby Arafura Rare Earths Nolans project, which is one of the best rare earths projects probably globally, but it's just down the road from where we are. But in that general area, there's been some significant discoveries. Most recently, probably most notably, WA1, which granted is just over the border, but it just shares geological similarities with what we believe we have at Selta. But also, it's also worth mentioning that the territory is attracting a lot of exploration attention. So I just read just before this discussion, actually, Mark, that exploration expenditure in the territory has reached its highest level ever. With over just under 75 million Australian dollars spent in the September quarter this year, which is 30% up on the same period of last year, and a large proportion of that exploration expenditure is on rare earth elements and lithium. So the fact that there's this investment going in demonstrates that other companies recognise the potential for these key metals, and I'm really pleased that we're in the thick of it as well with what we've got at Selta. So just to round that out, I apologise for going on. How we go about establishing our approach to exploration will be governed by many different factors, but it's effectively going after the best thing at the right time. As simple as that, really.
The best thing at the right time, and that will be based on what? The market sentiment for certain commodities, presumably the ease of access to them, capex, etc. What makes most economical sense?
100%. So all those points, Mark, but also because we've spent time doing the reconnaissance at Selta, we know we can get around that huge area with existing access, and we know that the vast majority of the geology of interest there is either outcropping or is relatively shallow buried under superficial cover. So as a result, we can deploy relatively nimble exploration techniques, whether that be the first principles of sending teams out doing further reconnaissance and soil sampling, or indeed sending out augers. We've got all the permits to do that, to take that first step in that methodical and, as I've mentioned, systematic approach to better understanding what we've got, with a view to working up drill targets, which is what we all want, is these tangible results for all of us.
Indeed, and I think I note from the RNS that if you identify, is it nine targets that could be the first kind of area of attack?
That's right, and the 9 targets, 8 of them were identified by the external consultants we worked with, and an additional target identified with the first development resources team. But I genuinely believe there are more out there. It's a really interesting part of the world, and as I mentioned, it's geologically complex, but that also presents opportunity as well.
And following this recent work then, Tristan, has it been worthwhile? Has it really helped you and the team to understand, more of the potential? Do you feel more excited about the potential here, or, is it throwing up more questions?
The announcement this morning has really demonstrated our understanding of the potential at Selta has increased significantly. So the initial desktop review, which was completed last year, identified a number of potentially uraniferous areas, but also areas which potentially could host rare earth elements. And then obviously our own fieldwork identified the potential for pegmatites, which may or may not host lithium. We always knew that there would be additional work required to really firm up that level of understanding and add meat to the bones, so to speak. And that's exactly what we've done. So we've taken that base level of understanding, we've incorporated all the historical data which we believe exists for Selta and the surrounding area, and we've been able to really refine these targets to apply, deposit type analogies to them, and then at the same time develop an exploration strategy to work up this initial level of understanding, with a view to hopefully resulting in drill ready targets, which we can then obviously take forwards as FDR develops.
Sure. Okay. So this is, of course, Selta, but there are other projects in the portfolio as well. And of course, you are still heading down that IPO route. So, what are you working on? Selta, you've got to take this exploration strategy a bit further, refine it a bit more, I guess, and then decide where you might allocate funds to go and actually drill some of these potential targets, or indeed do some further, as you say, RC drilling or geochemical surveying to sort of prove a bit more what might be the best economical terms commodity and area to go after. But where are you focusing on? There's sort of 2 questions I want to ask you. Is the IPO is still in progress, presumably, so I'd like to know a bit more about how that's going. As you're working towards that IPO, what is the team? What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, look, the question around what we're doing with the IPO is the elephant in the room almost, and it's a really frustrating situation that we find ourselves in, insofar as we have been, if you excuse the phrase, oven ready as a business for several months now. And what that means is that the pre-IPO proceeds, which we raised back in June 2022, that money has been spent preparing all the necessary documentation and getting everything in place to allow us to then push the button on the listing. The biggest challenge in terms of pushing that button is finding a cornerstone and being confident that the money is there. So when we do go after the IPO, we don't attempt and then have to, and if it's not there, fail, if you like, and then come back again. That would make the process much more challenging going forward. So, you hear a lot about a lot of companies referring to the far from ideal market conditions. And as much as many people may suggest that is a catch-all excuse for covers a whole manner of sins, the reality is when it comes to an IPO situation, it is a very challenging market that we found ourselves in, and it has been a challenging, stagnant market for a prolonged period of time. Yes, there have been some issuances or some new instruments coming to market over 2023, but it's been a real challenge for everyone that's listed, and I'm sure everyone would agree with that. But it's wonderful to see that these companies have been able to make a success of it. What's been really, really comforting for me over the past couple of weeks and attending the Resourcing Tomorrow event further accentuate this thought to me is that there is success. We are seeing success. I think Empire Metals recently has really demonstrated that there is the opportunity for companies to do well if they do get that chance, and we would love to replicate that success if given the opportunity. So being in a state of readiness, as much as I've discussed this on previous interviews, is a really important factor for First Development Resources. The fact that everything is in place, ready to go. It's just a question of having that confidence when we do push the button, we can do, and we can get over the line.
So it is ready to go. You want a cornerstone. That's really what you're waiting for, or we're not waiting for, but trying to get hold of.
We're certainly not waiting for that cornerstone, Mark. The First Development Resources team, supported by the Power Metal Resources team, we are leaving no stone unturned in our quest to find that cornerstone, and we will continue to do so because we believe that what we're bringing to market, despite it being early stage, it is a real exciting opportunity, with copper gold in the Patterson province of Western Australia and these forward-looking minerals that we've got in the Selta project. It covers off all the bases for what the world needs in terms of metal supply going into the future.
Okay, and well, as you say, it is a tough market, but some IPOs have definitely got away, and I think perhaps the thing you need is to attract that attention that it's a good investment proposition at the time, whether it's something that can be fast-tracked to production or, just looks very compelling. So what can you do then to wave the flag a bit more to attract those investors? Do you need to just wave the flag a bit more? Do you need to get around a bit more? Do you need to actually do a bit more activity on the ground? And I guess you're working closely with you're still under Power's wing, let's say. So what is actually happening in order to help you attract this sort of cornerstone to get this IPO away?
So I guess it's really all of the above, Mark. And one of the challenges that we've faced is because we are in a position where we're ready to go. When we do more work, we then have to update the competent persons report, the admission document, the investor presentation, and then all the verification that goes with it. And each one of those steps comes with a time and a cost implication. So we were reluctant to bring forward this work that was always planned to be done post-IPO at Selta, which we announced today. But however, in order to, I guess, help wave that flag a bit more by enhancing what we already know is an interesting proposition by doing this additional desktop study, which, as I say, we've announced. Yes, we now have to go through and update the documentation, but that's what we need to do. It's doing whatever we can to stay relevant and to get the attention of the people who can help us get over the line.
Okay. That
being said, Mark, we have to be cognizant of the fact we are relatively early stage or greenfield in our exploration efforts. But that's the industry. The industry is layered. We're at the discovery end. We are an explorer looking to make a discovery. In these current markets, if you're a cashed up mid-tier or a major, you can just sit and you can watch these juniors either going out exploring or find themselves becoming more and more distressed from a cash position, and that presents an opportunity for those cashed up mid-tiers and major companies. We want to hold on. We want to get through this point, and we want to get our place in the pipeline of discovery or the mining process solidified, so we can make that discovery and crystallize value by passing up to the next level. Okay. I think it's going to be a really interesting year in 2024. As I mentioned, I took a lot of encouragement from the vibe that I picked up at Resourcing Tomorrow. Yeah. I'm really hopeful that all the good work that the First Development Resources team, supported by Power Metal Resources, will come to fruition, and we will get this IPO over the line.
Okay, well, there definitely was a better vibe at Resourcing Tomorrow this year than it was last year, for sure. So let's see what 2024 brings. I hope you're not just, I hope you're sort of perhaps country agnostic, so you're not just looking for a cornerstone perhaps from London. Would you perhaps look down under, or look to attract some homegrown investors over in Australia?
Mark, we are, as I mentioned, leaving no stone unturned. Myself and the full FDR board, we stand behind the investment proposition that we want to communicate to the market, and we believe it will stick. It's just a question of ensuring that the conditions when we do push the button are right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that update. Tristan Pottas is CEO of First Development Resources.
Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.